Hello, and welcome to episode 29 of the Carry On with Carrie podcast. Today, I am excited to welcome Sonika Kulkarni. She is a psychologist, a clinical hypnotherapist, and has specialized in hypnobirthing. Hello, Sonika, how are you?
I'm good, Carrie. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a really good morning so far.
Winter is around the corner, right?
I know. Okay, so Sonika, you're out in Ontario. And
that's right.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to connect on Instagram.
Yes.
So it's nice to finally meet you.
Absolutely. This is the closest we could get to meeting for now, and this is a lovely meet.
It is. I so appreciate you taking the time to share what you do. And I just wanted to know, I guess, just to give a little bit of background to people. You started with psychology, so you have a psychology background, and you kind of led it into hypnotherapy and hypnobirthing. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, growing up, my father was in the military, and he was not as around as he would have liked to be, thanks to the nature of the job. So I was mainly brought up a lot by my mother. My mom is a self-taught psychologist, I should say. So things like the subconscious mind, the inner workings of the mind, soul, universe, energy, these things were dinner table conversations. So it was very natural that as I grew up, this felt like it's part of my DNA. Right. And I went on to doing my bachelor's and then my master's, both with specializations in psychology.
Wow.
From where I then, the interest continued and I wanted to keep getting deeper, and I qualified to be a certified clinical hypnotherapist.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. After that, life, of course, life is funny. It has its own plans sometimes, and you need to flow along.
Right?
Right. So life had different plans for me, and I went the corporate route. Took a little bit of a break from my clinical practice. Went the corporate route, did my MBA in human resources, studied in different countries, worked in different countries. Wow. And a decade later, it was time to have a baby.
Right. Yes.
So that was kind of the turning point. When I was pregnant with my little one, who's now 2.5 years old, she changed life more than I realized she would. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so the experience of, despite being a clinical hypnotherapist, waking up in the morning with the fear in second trimester that, oh my God, how am I going to get this watermelon out of my ladybirds?
Yep. Love that. Yep. It's pretty scary, pretty daunting.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So, and it's a common fear that so many moms have, but no one really addresses it to that extent and in that way. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started using hypnosis very naturally, of course, through the process of being pregnant and then through birth. It turned out to be a beautiful birth thanks to that. I felt very calm and relaxed.
Right.
But that set me off onto the track of getting deeper into birth and how hypnobirthing works and all of that. Mm-hmm. Because when I went back to work in the corporate after my baby, and people would say that, so how did it go and how was labor? And these are common discussions that happen between moms at times, or closer colleagues or the friend circle. Mm-hmm. And I would mention that it was my journey through the fear and the anxieties and the worries of pregnancy and birth and the labor pain.
Yes.
But then how it transformed and how I came out the other end, feeling really calm, relaxed, and I was very in control of the entire process and my body and everything that was happening, really. Mm-hmm. The surprising part was where, I expected the same euphoric reaction, the feeling that I had within me, mm-hmm. to reflect in the reaction of people. But what I got instead very often was That's beautiful. I don't think, I never knew that it could be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I had known.
Yes.
And,
that's what made me reach out to you. Yeah, it is. Because going back, not to interrupt you here, but like I had twins, and I had them at 29 weeks, and it was scary. And I do believe that in certain circumstances, if I had been a little bit calmer, maybe I would have held on to them. And then the guilt of giving birth too soon and the trauma behind it, right? But I didn't know about any of this when my kids are 21 now. So that was a while back. I don't even know if this was offered at that point.
Yeah. So hypnobirthing is a pretty old, if that's a word, but
okay.
It's pretty well established, and it's been becoming popular steadily since the 1960s or so.
Okay.
But having said that, it's not popular enough as much as I'd like it to be, because as you rightly said, that so many people don't even know about it. And, hearing moms respond that way to say, I wish I had known. I wish I had known there was a better way to prepare for birth. I wish I had known there was a better way to give birth. I wish I had known there was a better way to go through labor. I mean, just the fact that I wish I had known. And hearing that pain drove me through for the remainder of my corporate journey to one day reach that speed-breaking halt and say, hey, what are you going to do about this? Are you going to do something or not? Because stop letting it ache your heart like this. And I said, well, this is it. It's time. I got to do something. Right. So I left my corporate career, and by then I had already certified in hypnobirthing as a specialization as well. So I was raring to go. Really.
Right. So you've been a busy, busy person. I mean, the past, just hearing your past accomplishments and degrees and all the hard work that's kind of led you to this. And, I often find like we veer off a path for a reason. Like you went into the corporate world and all the things that you kind of learn about socializing with people and how people work together and all those things, right? I think always leads to, oh, okay, well, that's why I had that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a good point there about, there is always a reason why things seem to not be on plan, but they actually are. I mean, that's the best plan.
Yes.
That happened. And on hindsight, I do realize that like being in the corporate and being pregnant, and being deep enough into the corporate where I could, not to say that corporate is not stressful or any other job isn't, but jobs are stressful in general. Working is stressful. Even if you aren't working, being at home is stressful in different other ways. So, but why I'm talking about the corporate is to say that when that happened in my life, personally for me, I did understand really well firsthand on the kind of stressors a mom experiences throughout pregnancy when you're working.
Right.
And how busy it can get and how hectic it can be, and managing all of that with the stresses of a pregnancy, one tends to very easily put yourself to the corner, as we always do, and we prioritize everything else.
We do.
We don't prioritize our own mental health. We don't prioritize our self-care. We probably just take prenatal vitamins and feel good that I'm preparing for birth. But
totally,
well, that's not it.
And read what to expect when you're expecting. Isn't that
yeah,
which is terrifying.
Yeah, and I also went the app route. Things are a little bit different these days, right? Where you rely a lot more on apps than books. But yes, I did go the book route and the app route. But yeah, it's great to know what they keep notifying you of. So it's a very helpful app, and the book. But it's scary to know what's coming.
Right.
And what are you going to do about it? Because a lot of people don't know that there is anything that you can do about it.
Exactly. So, yeah. And I think that's because, I mean, we've all heard it. You have an expecting mom, and so-and-so is beside them. They've had 3 babies already, and they wind up telling their horror stories, so to speak, or how traumatic it was for them. And it's terrifying. It can be, I learned that early on, like with new moms, just keep as positive as you can. Everybody's experience is different, and one experience to another, you can't compare. And to add that fear prior to is not really that
Of
helpful,
course.
right?
Of course, absolutely. We have so much stuff around us, adding to that the traumatic birth stories, adding to that the media, the movies we watch, the stories we hear,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that has gone into our minds, and we've heard of these things since a very young age many times,
Mm-hmm.
where you hear moms and grandmoms and aunties and people talking about like, for example, the grandmom saying, when your dad was born, blah 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 blah, and from a very young age you've already heard how traumatic birth can be and how painful it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's taking, as each generation comes, hopefully that can change into a more positive experience.
Absolutely, because these are very, very deep rooted, deep seated fears, anxieties, worries, to the extent that we have come to normalize them, that we say that labor is painful. Of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
Labor is the most painful experience a human being can go through.
Yeah.
Women are stronger than men because they bear the pain of labor.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll end up giving these bravery awards for having done this. So for having gone through that journey of making the pain rewarded, to
Mm-hmm.
reward the pain, you give that award of bravery, and then the mom can feel good about it.
Right.
But the point is that you don't even need to go through the whole journey. So of course you need an award of bravery if the journey was that, if it was so traumatic, then naturally it feels good to get the bravery award at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, why don't you cut it from the root? It doesn't have to be traumatic.
Right.
How about instead stacking the odds in your favor to the extent that there is a great possibility that you can prepare in a way that you can actually have a low pain to no pain birth.
Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, the flip side is that even if you don't land up having a completely awesomely pleasurable birth, so to speak,
Yeah.
but you will still at least be prepared enough and feel in control and confident of what's happening, that it doesn't feel like a traumatic birth.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going through the trauma yourself as the mom, and the baby in return is also not going through the trauma of experiencing a traumatic birth.
Mm-hmm. And
So it's a win-win, really.
Oh, for sure. And we talked about that before the show. So part of the hypnotherapy part of it in hypnobirthing is because there has been so many traumatic births and we hear all these stories, but how does that affect, have they done, can you explain a little bit about how that affects the psychology of the mom, and from a psychological standpoint, how it affects the mom and baby?
Of course, that's a great question. So what happens is that when a mom goes through the journey of pregnancy itself, which may or may not always be very smooth, there are different things that each woman goes through throughout pregnancy at different phases in different trimesters to different intensities, whether it is physical, maybe symptoms of puking throughout, nausea, sciatica, gestational diabetes. There are so many things that do happen, and these are I'm just scraping the surface here.
Mm-hmm.
Even emotionally, there could be stress, anxiety, worries, fears, sometimes pure paranoia. There are different grades and extents to which emotionally and physically one is stressing out throughout pregnancy. Add to that what actually happens in labor, and then what actually happens at birth.
Right.
And why I separate labor and birth here is because they're two different phases. So many people can have a very hard labor but an easy birth, if that's a possibility. But
yep.
And then also a very okay-ish labor, not too hard, but a very hard birth, right, really when the baby is actually born. So those differences are there. So pregnancy, labor, and birth in itself has a lot of scope. If somebody is not prepared, it can have a large, huge psychological impact in terms of the experience that the lady has been through.
Right.
And when the baby is born, all of that experience then culminates into the impact. That's when you see it the most.
Right.
Because, and it's seen in the simplest of things really. Is the baby sleeping well? Are you sleeping well? As a natural process, of course, with a newborn, the mom isn't going to get too much sleep, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the average process. If it's beyond that, that you're still not sleeping well, or, even in the 10-minute nap that you can get, but that's maybe paralyzing. There's panic, there's other emotions there,
Mm-hmm.
or there's depression. Postpartum depression is a huge part of this impact that one faces
Mm-hmm.
as a result of the experience one has had through pregnancy or labor or birth.
Right.
And even in terms of breastfeeding, the way the child latches on, you see these things as an impact, how easy or not it's going.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I wanted to, going into postpartum depression and all of the like how in Western society we have, a mom gives birth, and most times now it's you're out of the hospital that same day sometimes, like you mentioned, the tiredness and just the things that you don't expect. If you can kind of give us an idea of what one of your hypnobirthing session looks like.
Sure. So I have different programs that I offer when it comes to hypnobirthing. If somebody is before the mark of around the 36, 37 week mark,
Mm-hmm.
there is a full program that they can take, which is approximately about 4 sessions. It's a 10 to 10 and a half hour program. So they get multiple sessions to go through.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody is beyond the 37 or say 38 week mark, when they feel that they're much closer to the labor and birth, the day of birth,
Mm-hmm.
or they've found it a little bit later in pregnancy probably, or maybe they found it early enough, but their lives are just too hectic and too busy to take out 4 sessions for it.
Right.
So if they're running on a time crunch, then there is an essentials program that I offer. So there are these kind of programs. There's also a separate program for C-section. If somebody already knows that for some reason it's going to be a planned C-section already,
Mm-hmm.
there's a separate hypnobirthing program for that as well. So like this, on my website, there are different programs. I won't get into details now. But on an average, the longest one is the full program, which has 4 sessions.
Okay.
In each session, we explore different parts of birth preparation, as well as different elements of hypnosis for birth. So what one learns is, let me take a step back and then get back to this point.
Yeah.
So what one learns is something like the iceberg. So if you imagine the mind to be an iceberg, there's only about 10% of an iceberg that is above sea level. The rest of it, there's a good 90% ice chunk,
Mm-hmm.
huge one, that is under the surface of the water that we don't really see.
Mm-hmm.
That's similar to the mind. So our conscious mind is that 10% that
Mm-hmm.
we see on top. It's the rational mind, it's the logical part of our brain. It's the one that helps us make these logical decisions, sensible decisions,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. When we say we're thinking, we are idly thinking from that part. But that's just 10% of our brain.
Right.
The remaining is the 90% huge chunk, which is under the surface, which you're not aware of consciously. But it is running 95% of our lives on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Wow, hey?
Yeah. So for example, when we get from office to home or from the supermarket, we are driving home and we're listening to a song or we are in conversation with somebody who's sitting beside us, and all of a sudden we realize we've reached home. What happened there?
Mm-hmm.
We just started saying, many times we don't even think about it. But if you think about it, one justifies it saying, oh, I was just on autopilot.
Right.
But how are you on autopilot? What happened there is that the subconscious mind finds that route so familiar that it knows how to get you from point A to point B without your conscious intervention.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's what happens. So as a result, it's important that when, similarly, now coming back to the programs and the sessions that I was talking about, In each session, we target that 10% of the conscious brain, which needs to know logically what is happening in the body. Why are we learning this program in the first place? How is it going to help me? What am I supposed to do in labor? What am I supposed to do if my water breaks? Then what? At each next step, now what?
Mm-hmm. So having a plan, like you.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And knowing there are different phases in labor. At each stage, the body is doing something different. Your muscles are working differently in each phase.
Mm-hmm.
The baby is positioning differently in each phase. Knowing those things, how it's working, and knowing just enough as much as you need to know as a pregnant mama. You don't need to know what the gynecologist knows. You don't need to know what your midwife knows.
Right? Yes, exactly.
So
too many details sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's overwhelming because there's already so much to think about. So the program is designed in a way that only that much information that is necessary for your conscious mind is given to you, so that the mama understands, the dad understands, this is what I need to know, this is what's going to happen, this is how my body is working, this is what my baby is doing. I'm at A, B, C phase of labor, being able to identify where I am, how far I might be, what's happening right now, and what should I do for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that part that happens in every session. Different modules, different parts of the session contribute to the conscious mind and the childbirth preparation, the actual act of giving birth. The other part of the session covers the section for the 90%, which is the subconscious mind,
mm-hmm.
Which we are not aware of, which is where lie all the fears, the worries, the anxieties, that all the horror stories that we've heard,
mm-hmm.
all the crazy movies we watched, when, the mom in the movie is pushing and she almost bites her husband's hand because she's like, and the husband is going, push, push, and she almost bites his hand to say, shut up, I'm just trying to get the baby out.
Yep. That side comes out.
Yeah. So all of that is stored there, and that has a huge impact on our actual the process of giving birth to the baby.
Mm-hmm.
It has a huge impact on how the labor plays out and how we give birth.
Right.
So that is also addressed largely in each session. Mm-hmm. And then besides that, I also give a good chunk of the session to actually doing a hypnobirthing script.
Okay.
So that the mom and dad, the mom and the partner, birth partner is right there. They have a deeply relaxing session where I also, as a clinical hypnotherapist, put in those suggestions that help them become more confident and feel reassured that they will feel in control and they know how to relax when logically you're not in a position to relax because your body is going to labor.
Right.
But the practice of doing that in every session helps so much that it shows the results when you actually go into labor and then you deliver a baby and you come out saying, you know what, this was beautiful. Mm-hmm. I'm already ready to do it again. Why?
Yeah.
Because I felt so relaxed, I felt calm, I felt confident of what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what's happening. I was in control. My birth partner knew exactly what to do, when to do it. I didn't even have to tell him anything.
Right.
And he just knew it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you bring up a good point. You bring up, I was actually going to ask you about that, how this can be of benefit to the birth partner, to the husband, or whoever's in the room with you.
Of course. That's a great question. So many times birth partners are left out a little bit
mm-hmm.
from the pregnancy and birth journey, really. As much as we would like them to be a part of it, as much as medical professionals or the moms themselves try to involve the partners in, but somewhere there is a feeling where the partners do tend to feel at times that, am I really of use? Is there something I can do better?
Mm-hmm.
To help my pregnant mama go through this process?
Mm-hmm.
Is there some way I can make it easier? And they don't really know exactly what to do.
And again, you go back. Again, you go back to the movies and you see like the husband's passing out and he's the one who needs help. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, one is the passing out part. That's the hilarious one. And the other one is okay, so it seems like my role is to hold her hand, and when the doctor or the midwife says push, I say push. That's it. That's that.
Yeah.
And, or probably at max you're dabbing her forehead in the middle when she's sweating it out there. But
Here's some ice chips.
yeah. So here's some ice chips. There you go. So and whereas the irony is that the birth partner is actually the one person who knows the pregnant mom the most through this process.
The one she trusts the most.
Absolutely, and whom she trusts so much.
Mm-hmm.
Even more than the midwives, even more than a doula, even more than a doctor, even more than the nurses. It's just such a close connection, and there's so much trust that lies there.
Yeah.
So there's so much because of that which is in the hands of the birth partner, and I really focus a lot on that when it comes to the different techniques, the different signs, the indications, the cues, the practical tools that a birth partner has to be able to take an active part in labor and birth.
Right, and show a power in that, right, and give them some support. What your program is it kind of like a Lamaze session, Lamaze program, or a pre-birthing program that the hospitals set up for you? I know at one point that's what they would do, is that you have to phone and then you get your, dad learns, you watch a video and it's terrifying and you see a woman giving birth and the dad's sitting there like, oh, what do I do?
Right. So hypnobirthing is different from Lamaze.
Okay.
Lamaze came before hypnobirthing. So hypnobirthing is an new and improved take, as they say, right?
Yes.
So about the hospitals do tend to have some or the other prenatal program that they might advise. Some hospitals do, some don't. Having said that, taking a prenatal program is very different from taking a hypnobirthing birth preparation class. And in many different ways. So I'm not going to get into all of them. We'll occupy a lot of our podcast here. But what tends to happen is that it's designed for a larger audience. A prenatal program in general is designed for a larger audience because there are so many different types of pregnant moms at different ages, different stages, different phases, with a partner, some without a partner, different body types.
Yeah.
So there are so many unique differences, but it has to naturally be created for everybody who's pregnant. And a key component of my hypnobirthing programs and birth preparation programs is that it is very customized to the parent who's in front of me, who's taking the program.
Right.
So it is customized to not just your age or your body type or the situation you might be in, but it is also customized to the extent that being a clinical hypnotherapist, I can also customize your exact scripts that you're listening to. So they may not even be the traditional hypnobirthing audios that you might receive.
Right.
Because if somebody has very specific fears or trauma, I can actually address those and make very custom audios. And same with the entire program. It's customized to your requirements. So we focus on what you need a little bit more than what the program is designed to be. We can, tweak things to the requirement of the couple, to the birthing mom, to the partner, both ways.
Right. And so is this something that through this process, do you find from a mental health perspective, like in the pregnancy part of it, does it bring up a lot of past experiences, or are you able to guide it in a way that focuses just on the birthing process?
That's a good question. It tends to bring up the past and probably trauma experiences for some. But usually it's not because of the session or the program. It's because of what the mom has already come to me with. And it's amazing how pregnant moms are very cognizant of this.
Mm.
They're very aware when it comes to this part of it.
Right.
So it's great that you brought it up, Carrie. Many times it does happen that pregnant moms actually come with saying that, you know what, till I wasn't pregnant, I never noticed that I'm scared of injections or scared of needles or injections to this extent.
Mm-hmm.
I used to just sense some mild discomfort. I probably won't look at it when I'm getting a blood test done. But that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm pregnant, it's freaking me out to the core.
Right.
That, oh my God, they're going to do blood work. They're going to do probably, give me some vaccinations. There's probably going to be, I might have to take an epidural in my spine. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's scary.
That is so scary.
Yeah.
And for some, it's scarier than others.
Mm-hmm.
And these things come up at that time when they reach out to me to say that, can your program help? And I'm like, yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it can for sure help with.
Right. Birthing multiples. So somebody that comes to you that's found out, they're in complete shock. Do you find there's a certain, like a different level of fear, or?
It is a little bit scarier for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say that fear is very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So for every person who's scared of something, they are so scared of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. For someone who's afraid of spiders, if they're scared of spiders, they're just scared of spiders. It doesn't matter if somebody else is more scared of spiders or less scared of spiders.
Mm-hmm.
They are just so scared of spiders.
Right.
Yeah. That they probably don't even want you to say spiders because sometimes it's that scary.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, it's hard to say if a mom who's going to have a twin birth or a triplet birth is more scared or less scared, because for each person their fear is just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too much to deal with and they need help.
Right.
But in a more objective or clinical sense, yes, it is possible that at times they are more worried or anxious because of the fact that they are not doing it once but twice within the same go. So, right. Yes.
Yeah. I just wondered
it's
about that.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
We talked about so I just wanted to know about the calm, more relaxed pregnancy, birthing experience, all of the benefits that come with that. How does that help postpartum?
Wow, it does, and so much. It does, definitely, because moms who have gone through, I call them hypno moms.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
They're moms who have done a hypnobirthing program. I should probably be calling them hypno parents, but because it always includes the birth partner if they'd like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so let's talk about the hypno moms here. They have babies who, for our purpose of our conversation, are hypno babies then.
Right. I love it.
But what happens is that the entire process from the time, whether you take it from pregnancy or just focus from the time the lady got into labor began, throughout labor and giving birth till the time the baby's out of the mom's body, whether that's through a physiological birth or through a C-section, either ways, the mom has been so calm, has felt so much in control, and has known what to do. She feels prepared. She is being able to voluntarily put herself at will into a state of deep relaxation. She's not zoning out. She's very aware of what's happening,
mm-hmm.
but she's still able to relax through it. And these physical behaviors and reactions and actions create emotional responses,
mm-hmm.
create hormonal responses within the body. So the way, for example, when somebody is stressed, the cortisol level rises really high in the body really fast.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody's stress levels are very low, they also have very low cortisol levels. So our hormones and our behavior is directly related to each other. You control one, you control the other.
Yeah.
And when it comes to labor and birth, that's what happens. That if the mom has been in that level of calm, relaxed, in control, confident feel, she takes those kind of actions and she has that kind of a birth.
Mm-hmm.
And she feels that way when she births. Now this thing has generated those kind of great, good, feel-good hormones in the body of the mom,
Mm-hmm.
which very easily, quickly, naturally translate into going into the baby's body.
Right.
Because the baby is in the mom's body all that while.
Mm-hmm.
And they're connected emotionally as well, besides being physically connected.
Mm-hmm.
So when the baby is born, they also come out with that huge cocktail of feel-good hormones.
Right. Yeah.
And
I love that. The cocktail. Yeah. Okay. Feel good emotions. That's a good. Yeah, okay.
So it's a good height to be in.
Yeah.
So that exactly translates into the postpartum experience. People who have done hypnobirthing programs do tend to notice that they are not facing postpartum depression or even those symptoms as much.
Right.
They are not going through baby blues as much. And it would probably be safe to say that they don't go through it at all. But there are always exceptions. There are always outliers. Labor and birth is not the only thing that is impacting postpartum depression. There are many more factors to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say that they're definitely not, because there are other contributing factors.
Right.
But the odds are definitely stacked in their favor, and chances are high that they will not have to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are emotionally and physically well equipped to not go through it, or to know what to do if they see that they are starting to tilt that way.
Right. Yeah. And see, that's the thing too, the connection, because you do hear moms that say, I just don't even feel connected. I don't feel like I'm supposed to feel all these things and I'm not feeling them. And then they have that guilt and all that stuff.
Yes.
I would think this experience, when you have that positive side of things, it just would naturally, like you said, they're in a mama's body for hopefully the 9 months, and they're a part of you, right? So to keep that connection after birth.
It's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly helpful. And a lot of skills that moms learn during their hypnobirthing programs, they don't just use through pregnancy, labor, and birth, but they also use it postpartum.
Right. And I think that's almost most important.
Skills. Yes.
Because it's kind of like a marriage. When the wedding is, you plan this wedding, it's a huge day, but it's only one day. And then you got to deal with the after part. The actual marriage.
There you go.
Right? Same kind of idea.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And preparing in a way that, coming together to prepare for the marriage, for the wedding day,
mm-hmm.
if the things that you do during that time help you bond in a way that it can see you through the marriage better,
mm-hmm.
then that's a win-win.
Can you tell us is there a common misconception that you've seen with people have about what you do?
Oh, there are lots of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking me that. I think I'll probably share a few. One of the misconceptions I hear very often is, hypnobirthing, is that meditation?
Right.
And to answer that, no, it's not. It's not meditation. Meditation is wonderful. I'm a regular meditator, so I understand what it is and how awesome it feels and the benefits it has on my entire day. Having said that, no, it's not hypnobirthing. It's not preparing you for childbirth. It's helping you stay calm, okay, but it's not always helping you to develop the skill of how to relax when your body is going into labor.
Mm-hmm.
How to feel relaxed in labor pain.
Right.
So that's a skill, and that is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that meditation is helping with. Meditation has its own benefits, of course, but it's not hypnobirthing.
Right. It's separate. It's a separate thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
And another one of them, I think, would be that, oh, I took a prenatal class, so I don't need a hypnobirthing program.
Mm-hmm.
And this is such a common misconception, really, because what you learn in a prenatal class many times also includes baby care.
Mm-hmm.
The what to do when the baby poops, and what to do when the baby pees, and how many times should they pee and poop,
Yeah.
and how should you feed the baby, and how many times should you feed the baby, how should you help milk come in, I don't know, probably. You know, and,
Yes.
and all of that, and yes, they may speak about labor, and yes, they may speak about birth, but no prenatal class is giving you the tools and techniques to you and your birth partner to know exactly what to do, when to do it, what your body is doing, how to connect with your body at a time when logically you're wanting to say, I'm done, I don't like this, I don't want this.
Right.
Just get done with this.
Yeah.
And when logically that's what you're saying, but it gives you the skills to really connect with your body, deepen the connection with your baby at that point,
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that you don't even really need to push.
Right.
That
Wow.
birth doesn't have to involve pushing at all. Your body and your baby know how to get the job done. You just need to get out of the way.
Okay. So now that brings me to something again, we connected on Instagram, and I, going through your reels and all your information, which by the way is amazing.
Thank you.
It really does highlight what you do, and it makes everything kind of make sense. And you brought up breathing and the proper breathing technique. We're and then you push. It's again that movie that everybody has seen over and over again on how to breathe and how to have a baby. Can you explain to us a little bit about how and the technique and why it's important?
Right. So there is a common way of pushing that one pushes in during birth. And very often it's the doctors or the midwives or whoever else who's supporting you, the medical professionals who are supporting you through the birth. And I have nothing against them. They only have your best interests at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And they absolutely know their job. But only you know your body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not their fault. But you need to connect with your body to have the birth you want.
Yep. You're the only one who has it.
So many times what happens during birth is called coached pushing, which is when your medical professional tells you that, okay, now it's time. See, I can see on my monitor that your contraction is coming. And at ABC time, now we're going to start pushing. I'm going to give you a count. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, push, 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 push. And for that entire time till they tell you to push, you're pushing.
Mm-hmm.
This is called coach pushing. What it does is that, for one, you're not running on instinct. So you may or may not have felt like pushing, but you're pushing because you were told to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part is that you go purple in your face because you're holding your breath and you're trying to push as hard as you can for as long as you can till they tell you that you need to stop.
Which oftentimes, doesn't it, like, women break blood vessels, and like it's that in itself is traumatic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's so much, there are almost little swollen faces that you see of the mom for quite a few days
Mm-hmm.
after the birth, because all the blood has been pent up and held there. So the thing is that with birth, it is as easy as breathing. It is as easy as, sorry for the example, but it's as easy as going to take a dump in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
It's a basic biological process, and the body will not make it tough for you for something that is intended to be a basic biological process.
Right. Wow. Yeah, like, I know it sounds so, but that's the truth. Like, we do that every day, or hopefully, and we just do it, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
So similarly, now coming to the breathing part of it,
Mm-hmm.
similarly, if you are able to breathe through every stage of labor, and there are different breathing techniques for each stage of labor depending where you are, and similarly a different stages of birth and where you are there. So there are different techniques to breathe in, and what's the right way or what's the easiest way for you to cooperate with your body to do what your body and baby are trying to do. Like in certain phases, you should breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. I'll give a free tip here. When it's time to actually birth, don't breathe out through your mouth. You breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your nose. But the trick lies in not stopping to breathe. When you're doing coached pushing or what is called purple pushing, and you're like, you're not breathing.
Right.
Because you've held your breath and you're pushing. And that is hard. That is hard on your body. That is hard on your baby. That is very difficult on your pelvic floor and can have lasting effects on pelvic floor damage.
Oh, okay. And even your brain, I think, like all of it is connected, right?
Everything is connected, absolutely. And it's as good as, let me give you an example here. It's like a baby who's learning to newly take a step down, climb a step down. And imagine that they're then going to, walk across the road. There's just one step from the home onto your road ahead of you. And to just go down that one step, none of us would ever say that, you know what, go on, take a step. What are you waiting for? You're taking so long. And you wouldn't give a nudge or a push to a child at that point. You would prefer to just wait, hold on, stay calm, keep breathing, and let the child take a step down when they're ready to.
Right.
And it's the exact same way. When we get into it to be like, okay, I'm gonna push, and you hold your breath, and you take the technique of really quick breath, or you hold your breath and try and push hard. What you're doing is you're telling your baby, hey, come on, get out of there, enough, push, get out.
Yeah.
And that's that's not something that naturally comes to a mom to do. So what I'm saying here.
Can I ask you one question? You mentioned that. So I'm not sure what your knowledge is on, birthing throughout time, throughout history. When you bring up the natural birthing process, is there? I guess it's something I just find it fascinating. Like, have we always been conditioned this way to a certain way of breathing? Is there different cultures that implement different ways of birthing? And I know some really think screaming helps, and other people think complete silence helps. But the birthing history, do you know, or can you give a little bit of insight into that?
Of course, for sure. So it is said that at a certain time in history, and I don't want to get into politics, when it comes to the history of women giving birth, there was a time, they say, centuries ago, when women and men were actually equal and society was not considered patriarchal. So at that time, birth was a very natural process. And there was no sense of fear or rush or urgency or emergency or making it a medical process.
Yeah.
It was just a natural process. So when time came, women were very in touch with their bodies, and they just knew to seclude themselves, make a little cozy corner, and go give birth, with many times completely on their own. And sometimes if they needed support, maybe another sister or a mother or an aunt or a grandmom or somebody like that. And that was it. That's how natural and easy it was.
Right.
What happened along the way is that one thing, as much as science and technology is awesome to have, it does have its boons and banes, right? So to speak.
Yeah.
So what happens with that is the more modernized we become, we kind of start getting out of touch with our own bodies and our own minds. And we forget that there is a mind-body connection. So that contributes to it largely. The other part that contributes to it is what happened with society becoming more patriarchal, is that the men started, it's known to be so, I'm not sure how true it is, it does sound a little true to me, So I'm sharing what I know.
Yes.
It's said that men started to step in instead of the women being the healers and the medicine women. It became the men who started to become the more well-educated doctors and the people who could have a say in how birth should happen or what is safe or not safe, what's a risk, all of that.
Right.
And women started doubting themselves in terms of, maybe I don't really know how this works. Maybe I'm not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need support. There's no harm in taking support.
Right.
But losing confidence in yourself to be able to decipher when you need it and when you don't. Now that's a little, that you need help with that.
Yes.
So yeah, so those are the kind of different elements that came in, where we started losing connection within ourselves, as well as it became a more medical process, really.
Right.
What could have continued to be a very natural physiological process.
Right.
Having said that, of course, it's great to have medicine. It's great to have the option to have an emergency C-section when either mother or baby is at risk, or both are at risk, either way. So those options are excellent, and please go ahead and take them if and when you need to. And I hope nobody comes across that, but if it's required, please go ahead. There's absolutely no shame in doing so. That's the flip side of this coin of pregnancy and birth, right? Where somebody who's had an epidural, or somebody who opted for a C-section or had to have a C-section, whether they opted or not, are kind of looked down upon that, oh, you got it the easy way. So in that way, there have been a lot of developments that have happened over time, over the history of mankind, from a science technology perspective, and also that humans have evolved with it in terms of their emotional status. So we have come to doubt ourselves a lot more. We have come to rely on external support a lot more than our own internal mind-body connection. And with that comes the number of stories and generations of traumatic births that have happened. And that's why all of those, it's a generational thing, as you said, all of those stories, fears, anxieties, worries are deep-rooted in our subconscious mind. And when time comes to actually get into labor and birth, we travel with all those traumatic stories and experiences and feelings. So it's very natural that the outcome is similarly not very relaxed, calm, and peaceful.
Right.
When that's the point, that's the background we are coming with. So it certainly does need to be addressed. It needs conscious preparation with practical tools and techniques for the mom and the birth partner to know exactly what to do, as well as for the subconscious mind to have been addressed and put at ease.
Right.
Which you cannot consciously do anyways. And that's where hypnosis is so powerful when it comes to childbirth preparation.
Right. Now, so are you actually present for the birth? Do you take it through that way, or is it all just leading the practices as you get into birth? You're like, how does that work?
No, so I'm not present at the birth. It would have been interesting if I could be. I think I can be pretty useful.
Yeah, for sure.
as a hypnotherapist and a hypnobirthing practitioner, but no, I'm not present at the birth. I provide the program as learning ground for the mom and the birth partner to really imbibe the practical learning as well as the subconscious part of it, and take it from there. Right. So there are enough and more actual practical techniques and exercises that we do in the class, which doesn't happen in every hypnobirthing program, but I really like to do that in mine because I'm customizing it to the parents who are coming to me.
Yeah.
So I really want them to, be a hands-on approach on this. When you do it, you learn it better than just hearing about it or reading about it.
That's right. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do with them, give them a lot of practice in front of me, as well as a lot of an entire toolkit really for them to practice through on their own as well.
Mm-hmm.
And these are not time-consuming practice techniques. I mean, I don't want to. I've been a working mom through pregnancy and birth. I was working till almost the very last week of my due date.
Right.
So, yeah. So,
Now,
so I understand how.
Personal question maybe, but did you go the hypnobirthing route yourself, or because of your experience, that's why you kind of decided to go down this path?
I used hypnosis, yes, for birth because
Okay.
it came so naturally to me as a hypnotherapist, and it's been more than 14 years now. So it's a natural part of me, and it comes in very naturally that
Right.
the minute I'm stressed or anxious, and I start relying on hypnosis, and it's very effective.
Okay.
So I naturally did rely on that. Post my birth, I did my formal certification in hypnobirthing, so that I'm able to further truly help parents to understand the childbirth preparation aspects, as well as how to use hypnosis specifically for birth, because that's different from using hypnosis in general,
right,
or hypnosis for therapy.
Right. Okay. Right. The difference is, yeah, and that's where I guess I want people to understand where it's coming from. Like you said, the misconceptions and stuff. It's just so good for people to understand really the science behind this. Right.
Of course. It is a complete science in itself. It's been so well studied. There's so much evidence. There are so many famous celebrities who have done this, and there are so many thousands, probably millions of everyday moms like you and me who've done this as well. So it's so good, and it's definitely worth. I think my job would be done the day every woman at least knows that this exists. Hypnobirthing exists. There is a better way.
Right.
There is a better way to prepare for birth. There is a better way to get into labor. There is a better way to have a baby. And it has so many physical, mental, emotional benefits to doing that, not just for the mama, but also for the baby.
Yeah. And so, okay, you are, like we said earlier, you are based in Ontario. And okay, is this a practice that is available both online? Like, do you do Zoom calls and that kind of thing, or is it all in person?
Yes, that's a great question. I am based in Burlington in Ontario. That's west of Toronto a little bit. I do online programs as well. Virtual programs are offered for all my different programs. Yes, so they always have the option. And in fact, there are many moms who are local to me, but also at times prefer to do a virtual program, probably because it's too snowy for them to get out sometimes.
Yeah.
Or it's just,
or they're tired from their work day.
Exactly. Right. And sometimes pregnancy comes with challenges, and a mom would prefer to be comfortable in her own couch in her own home, and have me there with her on the screen instead.
Yeah, well, and I have to say, meeting you in person, like just the warmth and you're just a genuine safe place, and it even through this kind of connection, you can tell that. And I recommend Sonika. I can recommend you to anybody, and that feeling of trust and almost instantly getting to know you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is there, if someone's looking for someone more local and they do want to have, like I mentioned, I'm from Alberta, is it just something you would Google hypnobirthing experts? Like, do you know an easy way to find somebody that would be local?
I think Google is the best friend there. Yeah, it's just easy to Google hypnobirthing programs.
Yeah.
So women supporting women is so important in today's day and age. And even when it comes to business, that one woman would be, for example, if I'm running a hypnobirthing program and somebody else is too, that's perfectly fine. You do you. You speak to the practitioner, you choose what you like, and go ahead and do it. There are, of course, differences between each business's offerings. So the standard hypnobirthing program may or may not, chances are may not really include everything that I spoke about during our episode, because the standard program does not always give the practitioner the freedom to customize to your requirements. And the programs that I'm using are UK certified, UK accredited. They are consistently, regularly upgraded to ensure that they are catering to the needs of the current times. They are also customized to suit the needs of the current parents who are sitting right in front of me.
Right.
So in that sense, the programs, they have their own unique differences in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you go ahead, look up, choose what's best for you, and what's best for you is what's going to happen anyways.
That's right. What's meant to be will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to find one locally, of course, you
Yeah.
can go ahead and Google hypnobirthing, for example, Alberta maybe. And
Yeah, and just your research, I guess, behind it, right? Because it's like anything, a therapist, psychiatrist, a dentist, it's all about your connection with that person too.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's so good. I mean, do it from me, do it from anybody, but just do it.
Yeah.
Get the support you need, have a better birth, know that there is a better way to birth. Yes, it's important.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing, and I mean, I could keep talking and talking to you about this, but I'd love to have you back, because I know you have you kind of involved with a few other things as well. We could briefly speak on those so people are aware of what else that you offer.
Sure. So, and thank you for opening the doors for me there as well. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I do offer energy healing programs. I do offer energy work, and to basically align the chakras, to align your energy centers better, so that you see the effects of that meandering automatically into your physical, emotional, and mental life. Really?
Yeah.
That's the energy programs. I also, besides that, have subconscious reprogramming programs, which are for reprogramming our subconscious limiting beliefs.
Right.
And they help you to overcome self-sabotage, overcome physical issues, challenges, of course, but also mental, emotional health. And also sometimes people come to me asking the deeper questions of life, wanting to know, why am I really here? What's my purpose? What should I do with life? What am I here to do?
Yeah.
Or how to achieve my goals better. I set great goals, put in effort, but I don't see it fructifying. And why is that happening? So all of that subconscious reprogramming does help with. And of course, I'd love to get more in detail another time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear more about that. It's just fascinating to me. It's anything to do with the mind and how it works and all that good stuff. Okay, I ask all of my guests this, but I'm just wondering if you can tell me, what is the last best thing that you do every night before you go to bed?
Ooh, I do my hypnosis.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. So I am a firm believer in hypnosis, and it's part of my daily practice. So before I sleep in the night, I have to do my gratitudes, and I have to do my hypnosis for whatever I'm focusing on at that point in time in my life.
And like you said, it's different than meditation, right? So if somebody's looking into, is that something that is easily available to train yourself how to self-hypnosis? Like, is self-hypnosis something that, how do you learn this? I guess.
Of course. And self-hypnosis, it's wonderful. Thank you for asking the question. Self-hypnosis is a wonderful skill to have. I'm a living testament, and there are so many more people who use self-hypnosis, have learned how to use it on a daily basis, and it's changing lives. It's changing lives massively. So it's definitely a skill to learn. Don't miss it. If you get a chance, please learn it.
Yes.
I am also developing a program to start teaching self-hypnosis.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you that next. I'm like, okay, yep.
Yes, so that's coming up soon.
Oh, good.
Keep a watch on the website, or if for your listeners, feel free to get in touch. If you're interested, let me know, and I can get back in touch with you once it's ready to roll.
Okay, perfect. Oh, that's exciting stuff, hey? Now, having said that, where can the listeners contact you, get a hold of you, all your social medias and your website and all that?
The listeners can find me at www.sonikawellnessnidaan.com. And my Instagram is Sonika_Wellness Nidaan.
Mhm.
So feel free to DM, contact form, email, either.
Okay.
I'm available. You
Yes.
can get in touch. I'd be more than happy to respond.
Okay. And yeah, I'll have all of your links up on the episode and on all the social medias. So people
Thank you.
they'll know how to get in touch with you. And I highly recommend it. I know for me, and now I'm very intrigued. I'll be definitely watching for the hypnosis training or classes, whatever the program, I guess. Yeah. Thank you so much. And maybe, I know you kind of already left with, but is there one last thing that you would like to leave the listeners with?
Hypnobirthing is for all births. For anyone who feels that hypnobirthing is probably woo, it's probably for if I want to do a home birth, it's maybe if I don't have medical professional support. It's none of that.
Mhm.
Hypnobirthing is for you. Do it for you. Do it for yourself. Do it for your body, your mind. Do it for yourself. Give yourself a gift. You're going to have a baby. Give yourself a gift. Do it for yourself.
Yes.
And of course, the baby's going to enjoy loads of benefits from it. So,
right?
It's a bonus.
Yes. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Sonika, again. And like I said, I just appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences and your knowledge with everybody.
Thank you so much for having me, Carrie. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk soon.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonika. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Carry On with Carrie podcast. I hope you got as much out of it and enjoyed it as much as I did. If you want to show me some love, you can follow me on Instagram at carryonwithcarrie_podcast or on Facebook at Carry On with Carrie podcast. And again, I'm here on Spotify. You can give me a follow and some shares, and hopefully we can reach just one more person at a time.